There's a moment every narcissist fears. Not when you get angry, not when you cry, and not when you try to win them back. It's when you go silent, calm, and completely out of their control. It's when they realize you've woken up, that their manipulation no longer works, that your eyes no longer beg, but carry clarity and resolve. That's when they panic. But instead of backing off, they launch one last assault. Three calculated tricks designed to pull you back in just when you're about to break free. In today's video, we're diving deep into the mind of a narcissist the moment they lose their grip. We'll expose the 6 final tactics they use to reel you back in, not out of love, but out of control. Don't be fooled by the sudden affection, the dramatic apologies, or the heartbreaking stories. These are often part of a well-crafted strategy. If you've ever wondered, why did they suddenly come back? Or why can't they just let me go? Or how do I stop falling for this again? Then you're exactly where you need to be. This video is your armor. It's your clarity in the chaos they create. So if you're ready to stand strong, reclaim your peace, and never go back to that emotional war zone, hit that subscribe button and stay with me until the very end. You deserve freedom, and that journey starts now with truth as your weapon. When a narcissist senses they're losing control, they don't back away quietly like you might hope. On the contrary, they shift into what I call psychological warfare mode, where every old trick they've ever used gets dragged back out, but this time supercharged to the extreme. They intensify their manipulation not out of love, but out of fear, fear of losing their grip on you. If you've seen them get angry in the past just because you spoke your truth, this time that anger won't just be emotional, it will be weaponized. You might offer a simple observation, a gentle truth, and to you, it's an honest reflection. But to them, it's a full-on attack against their fragile, unhealed ego. And rather than reflect or take accountability, they use that anger to twist facts, play mental games, and flip the script entirely. They'll deny words you know they said, even when you have proof. They'll manipulate your memory, make you question your judgment, your sensitivity, your reality. They'll say you're the one destroying the relationship, all because you dared to speak. This is classic gaslighting, and if it worked before, they'll use it again like a blunt knife, slowly severing your ability to trust your own mind. But that's not all. If gaslighting doesn't break you, they'll pivot to another familiar tactic: veiled threats disguised as rational concerns. They won't say, "I'm leaving you." They'll say, "I just don't know if we have a future if you keep acting this way." It sounds reasonable, but it's designed to make you feel like the problem. They want you to question yourself, to doubt your decisions, to once again bend and contort yourself to keep the peace. And when that doesn't work, they slip into their most manipulative role, the victim, the sadness in their voice, the glassy eyes, the lines like "you've changed" or "I can't believe you do this to me too." It sounds like heartbreak, but it's really a test. Can they still guilt you into staying? This isn't love. It's not grief. It's strategy. Every word, every tear, every silent pause, it's all a calculated move to see if they still have a hook in you. Because to a narcissist, love isn't partnership, it's possession. And when you go quiet, they don't feel pain, they feel challenged. If you used to cry, explain yourself, or beg them to understand, they'll repeat every tactic just to see if you'll break like before. But if this time you stay calm, unmoved, firm in your silence, they begin to panic. And that panic is what they fear most. Not your anger, not your absence, but your peace. Because in that peace, they realize something terrifying. Their power is gone. And when the power disappears, so does their so-called love, if you can even call it that. When the old manipulations no longer work, when you no longer respond the way they used to control you, a narcissist doesn't stop. They shift to a new phase, a more covert but deeply cruel form of control, punishing you by withdrawing love, attention, and everything that once made you feel valued. They know exactly what mattered to you. They remember the moments when their compliments lit up your face, the times when a simple act of care brought you comfort. And now, those same things will be pulled away, coldly, abruptly, without explanation. They don't have to scream. They don't even have to argue. All they need to do is emotionally disappear. That's how they make you hurt. No more touching you before bed, no more morning texts, no more warm looks or kind words. Their physical presence may remain, but their soul has already left the room. This is emotional starvation disguised as silence, and they know it. They calculate every quiet moment, every cold glance, every sudden "I'm busy," just enough to make you question yourself. Did I do something wrong? Am I pushing them away? Should I be softer, more patient? And the moment you begin to doubt yourself, they win. Because punishment isn't just about taking something away, it's about making you want to fix yourself just to earn back what should have been genuine love all along. But to a narcissist, love is never unconditional. It's a reward system, given and withheld based on how well you obey, how much you submit, how little you challenge their ego. The dangerous part is they'll never admit it. If you speak up, say you feel coldness, say you feel punished, they'll scoff, "You're overthinking," or "I'm just tired." Maybe even, "You're exaggerating everything." Suddenly, you're not only being punished, you're the one being blamed for it. A double blow, robbed of warmth and labeled the problem. The truth is, they know exactly what you need, and they intentionally withhold it. Not because they're incapable, but because they want you to feel like you must earn their affection. They want you to believe that their tenderness is something you must work for, by staying quiet, by not offending them, by playing along. And when you continue to hold your boundaries, when you don't beg for their attention, they escalate the punishment. They may pull away entirely, emotionally or physically, leaving you in a silence so deep it feels like drowning. They'll say they're busy, tired, need space, but none of that is real. It's just a cover for one truth. They're retreating to see if you'll chase them. And if you break, if you reach out and say, "You're hurting me, I miss the connection, can we talk?" they will do the most damaging thing of all. They will not care. Not because they didn't hear you, but because they don't want to. They want you to believe your needs are a burden, your feelings are inconvenient. And if you try to reconnect, they'll make you feel even smaller for trying. The more you seek closeness, the more they withdraw. The more you express hurt, the more they act unaffected. They turn you into the only one fighting for a relationship they've already abandoned, not because they want it to end, but because they want to watch you break yourself just to get a sliver of them back. Punishment doesn't always look like absence. Sometimes it's a cold presence. It's when they're next to you in body, but completely gone in spirit. It's when the hand that once held yours now feels like ice, when the voice that once soothed now cuts with indifference. And in the dark, quiet nights, you'll start to ask, "What did I do to lose this love?" But the truth is, you didn't lose love, because what you were receiving wasn't love. It was a weapon dressed in affection, a tool to control, a leash hidden in kisses. What you must do now is not try to earn it back, but to see it for what it truly is. You don't need to beg for love, especially not from someone who uses it to keep you small. Love isn't a reward for obedience. Affection isn't supposed to be conditional, and you are not a player in their power game unless you choose to be. When a narcissist can no longer control you, they'll try to control the story about you. If they can't manipulate your heart anymore, they'll manipulate how the world sees you. This is when they begin the smear campaign. Not because you did something wrong, but because you dared to walk away, to say no, to step out of the role they had written for you. And for a narcissist, losing control is intolerable. They must do something to regain the upper hand. If they can't get to you emotionally, they'll try to influence the perception of others. They start whispering in the dark, small stories, subtle comments, twisted truths. They target people who don't know you well, people who are easy to sway, or worse, those closest to you, planting seeds of doubt. They don't need to outright label you the bad one. All they have to do is drop a quiet suggestion. "I don't know what happened. She just changed." Or, "I used to love him so much, but he started making me feel unsafe." That's all it takes for others to begin seeing you differently. The pain here isn't just the misunderstanding, it's the betrayal from someone who once knew the truest parts of you. They once held your laughter, your stories, your vulnerability, and now they twist those memories into distorted versions to protect their wounded ego. And if you respond, if you try to defend yourself, clarify the truth, or speak your side, they'll spin it again. See, she's losing control. He's always so defensive, always making it about him. Ironically, the person who truly hurt you is now standing in the spotlight, playing the perfect victim. They act exhausted, broken, betrayed, while you're the one holding the shards of your own truth, trying to stay composed. But they know how to perform. They know how to cry on cue, tell the story in a way that earns sympathy. They know who will listen, and they've been planning this long before you ever walked away. Because in the world of a narcissist, every relationship is a stage. And when they feel they're losing the script, they rewrite the ending. They know that if they can't control your emotions, the next best thing is to isolate you, make others question you, doubt you, walk away from you. They don't need proof. They just need to exploit compassion, toss out a few emotionally charged lines, and let the rumors write themselves. What you must understand is this: everything they do after you leave has one purpose: to make you come back just to defend yourself. And the moment you do, they win. But if you remain silent, if you hold your dignity, if you let time and truth speak for themselves, they lose the last thread of influence they ever had over you. Not everyone will believe you. Not everyone will see what's really happening. But you don't need everyone. You need yourself. You need to know your truth. You need to protect your peace. And you need to keep moving forward with strength, clarity, and your head held high. Because one day, when their mask inevitably falls, you'll still be standing. Remember this: a narcissist doesn't need a reason to destroy your reputation. They just need an excuse. And you don't need justification to defend the truth. You just need to live it. And then when every other tactic has failed, when manipulation no longer works, punishment doesn't break you, and smearing your name doesn't lure you back, the narcissist will unleash their final move, discarding you. No warning, no explanation, no closure. They will withdraw, physically, emotionally, or both, as if you never existed at all. The cruelty of this tactic lies in its coldness. It's so empty, so indifferent, that it leaves you wondering if anything you shared was ever real. The person who once held your hand every day, who promised you forever, now vanishes, not because they're hurting, but because they no longer need you. You're no longer useful, no longer easy to control, no longer fueling their ego, and so they leave without a backward glance. To the narcissist, love is never about connection. It's about utility. As long as you provide emotional supply, obedience, pity, fear, longing, you have value. But the moment you awaken, the moment you become calm, grounded, detached, they lose interest. And so they walk away. Not out of heartbreak, but because they need a new stage, a fresh audience to continue the same game. Even more disturbing is this: the discard is often not a true ending, it's a strategic move. They leave hoping that their silence will haunt you, that you'll sit with the discomfort, the confusion, the ache for answers, and reach out. They want to leave an open wound, not a clean cut. So you'll be the one to seek closure, to reopen the door. That's the bait. This is the avoidance stance. Disappear just long enough for you to start chasing. They believe if they're silent long enough, you'll start doubting yourself. You'll miss the good memories, overlook the harm, and maybe, just maybe, you'll come back, not because you need them, but because you can't stand the lack of resolution. And the moment you do, they regain power. To a narcissist, discarding you isn't always the end. It's a test. They want to know: are you still weak? Will you return without an apology? Will you pretend the betrayal didn't happen? And here's the painful truth: many do return, not out of love, but out of desperation for clarity. They just want to understand what happened. They believe that one final conversation will bring peace. But narcissists aren't interested in truth. They're invested in cycles, in loops, in bait and repeat. And if you don't come back, if you stay quiet, stay grounded, keep moving, then they go to the last resort: replacement. Not with grief, not with healing, but with someone new, a new supply, someone who hasn't yet seen behind the mask. They'll flaunt this new relationship like a trophy. They'll showcase their happiness and love with someone else, not because they've moved on, but because they want you to see how easily you were replaced. But the truth is, no one replaces you. They're not looking for love. They're looking for a new performance. And soon the new person will see the same mask, the same manipulation, the same emptiness. Your only task now is this: don't react. Don't ask why. Don't text. Don't look for closure. because their disappearance, no matter how cruel, is the truth you needed all along. But if you think their disappearance is complete silence, then you've underestimated the wounded pride of a narcissist. There's one more trick they don't rule out, especially when you seem a little too calm. They publicly flaunt the new supply. Not because they're truly happy, but because they want you to see them being happy. This isn't love, it's a performance. A staged production carefully crafted to provoke pain. The new person doesn't have to be extraordinary. They just need to play a role, the perfect replacement. The narcissist will post romantic photos, vague captions filled with emotional undertones, or accidentally let you see a glimpse of a happiness you never received. And every piece of it is designed to hurt you without saying a single word. Because narcissists don't want you to be sad that they've moved on. They want you to question your worth. Why is the new person getting what I never had? Was I really not enough? Was it all my fault? And the moment you start asking those questions, they regain control. Sometimes they'll even draw comparisons: your looks, your career, your personality. They don't have to say it directly. A story, a comment, a picture. They let the images speak for them. And the cruelest part, all the things you once longed for, public validation, recognition, affection, are now being handed to someone else. And that pain doesn't stem from jealousy. It stems from the realization that you were once treated like you weren't worthy of those things at all. But here's the truth: the new person isn't better than you. They're just newer. They haven't seen behind the mask yet. They haven't lived through the cycle. And the narcissist knows that the idealized beginning will remind you of your own good old days with them before the crash came. But you must stay grounded. They haven't changed. They've just changed victims. The new supply isn't more loved. They're simply being idealized, placed on a pedestal that in time will be kicked out from under them. This isn't healthy love blooming. It's the same toxic loop starting all over again. And if you react, if you text, if you lash out, the narcissist will smirk because finally you're back in the game. But if you stay silent, if you see it all for the show that it is, if you don't even bother comparing yourself to anyone, they lose. Not because you won, but because you're no longer playing a game you never should have been part of. Remember, you weren't replaced. You were released. When all the previous tactics have failed, when you don't come back, when you don't react, when you don't break, the narcissist reveals their darkest side. They begin to stalk, threaten, and invade your life, no longer through emotional games, but through behaviors meant to make you feel truly unsafe. They might start silently monitoring your social media, accidentally showing up at places you frequent, or reaching out to your friends and family just to see how you're doing. They may send anonymous messages, leave vague but unsettling comments, or use third parties to bait you into responding. This is no longer emotional manipulation. This is psychological warfare, a violation of your boundaries, your privacy, and your peace. Because when they can't manipulate your heart, they will try to manipulate your sense of safety. They want you to be on edge, always looking over your shoulder, always second guessing whether they're still lurking. They don't need to do anything overt. The mere knowledge that they're watching is often enough to keep you up at night, and they know it. Fear is control when all else has failed. What's more painful is that they'll feign innocence. If you speak out, they'll say things like, "I'm just worried about you," or "I care, that's all," or "I didn't do anything wrong." But beneath that mask of concern lies a very deliberate goal: to drag you back into a state of crisis so that you never truly feel free of them. They want you to live with the questions. Will they show up again today? Is someone reading my messages? Am I being watched without even knowing it? And each of those doubts becomes a new chain, slowly tightening around your mind. This is the stage where the narcissist is no longer trying to make you love them. They're trying to make sure you can't live in peace without them. And if you react out of fear, anger, or a need to confront or explain, they win again because you're still orbiting them. You're still spending your energy because of them. But if you hold your boundaries, document their behavior, gather evidence, and take smart legal steps to protect yourself, You've stepped off the final chessboard they're desperately trying to pull you back onto, because you need to understand this one truth. When someone no longer loves you but still can't stand losing control over you, they will do anything to make you suffer, even if they have nothing left to hold on to. And if you're asking yourself, how do I keep going after everything I've been through? Then this is the moment where I need to remind you of one final yet life changing truth. Hold on. You will make it through. Because every tactic they used, whether it was emotional manipulation, silent punishment, character assassination, flaunting a new supply, or stalking and threats, all had one thing in common. They were meant to make you doubt yourself. They were meant to dim your inner light, to make you question your worth, to make you feel weak, small, and unlovable. But here's the truth they don't want you to realize. It's because you're strong that they had to use so many layers of control to keep you down. Think about it. If you were truly weak, you would have stayed silent. You would have remained compliant. You would have ignored your own intuition and abandoned yourself to keep the peace. But you didn't. You stood up. You walked away. You enforced no contact. You endured the silence, the smears, the isolation, and still chose yourself. That's not weakness. That's courage. I know there are nights you've felt alone, mornings you've woken up hollow, like a part of you is missing. I know what it's like to look around and find nothing but silence. But hear me, that silence isn't the end, it's the beginning. In that quiet, you'll hear the only voice that truly matters, your own. A voice that was once drowned out by fear, by manipulation, by the lies they fed you about who you were. Now you get to rebuild your inner home, not on fear of abandonment, not on craving validation from someone who never knew how to love, but on something sacred, your truth. You get to love yourself, nurture yourself, forgive yourself, not because you were wrong, but because you survived something others couldn't see. They didn't see the nights you cried yourself to sleep while pretending you were okay. They didn't see you endure emotional abandonment, subtle threats, and psychological games. But you know, and that's why you should be proud. You don't need validation from someone who broke you. You don't need an apology that may never come. What you need, what you've always had, is the light inside you, the one they tried to dim, the one that's still burning, quietly but persistently. It never left you. I won't pretend healing is easy. It isn't. The path is not linear. You'll stumble, you'll miss them when it doesn't make sense. You'll wonder, if I'd done something differently, would it have changed anything? But you'll rise. And each time you rise, you'll get stronger. Eventually, you won't just be someone who survived, you'll be someone who is thriving. Don't let them define what love looks like in your heart. Don't let the poison of their manipulation convince you that all relationships are toxic. Real love still exists, and it starts with the one you build with yourself. Treat yourself with the same tenderness you once gave them. Be gentle with your heart the way you were gentle with theirs. And trust life again, not because it's safe, but because you were never meant to be controlled. You were meant to be free. You are not alone. Millions of people are walking out of the shadows of narcissistic abuse, carrying scars, but also carrying a light that can't be extinguished. And you are one of them. So hold on and keep walking. Even if the road is hard, even if healing feels messy and slow, you are walking with truth now, with courage, with a heart that's learning to love itself again. If no one has ever told you this before, let me be the first. You deserve a love that's unconditional, respectful, and kind. You deserve peace, you deserve healing, and you will make it through. And you know what? Don't blame yourself. Don't beat yourself up for loving, for trusting, for trying to hold on to someone who didn't deserve you. Because having loved a narcissist doesn't say something shameful about who you are. It speaks volumes about the depth and sincerity of your heart. You weren't weak for loving them. You were brave for opening your heart in a world full of guarded people. You weren't foolish for believing their words. You were simply someone who wanted to believe in the best in others. And that's not something to be ashamed of. It's something to be proud of. The world needs more people like you. We often blame ourselves for not seeing the signs sooner, for not leaving earlier, for giving them too many chances. But every choice you made back then came from a beautiful place, the desire to love, to heal, to connect. That's not a flaw. That's a reflection of your humanity. Maybe you've wondered, why do I attract people like this? But perhaps the better question is, why are narcissists drawn to people like you? The answer is simple: because you have light, you have compassion, you have hope. They saw that light, and instead of cherishing it, they tried to control it, feed off it, and ultimately dim it when they could no longer own it. But here's what they didn't expect: real light cannot be extinguished. It may be temporarily hidden under pain and confusion, but it will rise again, brighter, stronger, and no longer so easily manipulated. And maybe, just maybe, that encounter with the narcissist wasn't a tragedy. Maybe it was a turning point, a spiritual lesson you had to walk through in order to truly understand your worth. Not so you'd close off your heart, but so you'd learn how to love wisely. Not so you'd live in fear, but so you'd learn the power of boundaries. Not to make you bitter, but to help you grow in self-compassion and emotional maturity. The narcissist may have taught you more than you ever expected, not with kindness, but with wounds. Through their neglect, you learn to value your voice. Through their disrespect, you learn the necessity of self-respect. And through the loneliness of loving someone emotionally unavailable, you discovered the beauty of finally coming home to yourself. Without that painful chapter, maybe you never would have asked the deeper questions about worth, about boundaries, about healing. Maybe you would have continued giving endlessly, never pausing to ask, what's left for me? But now, you know better. You know that love doesn't mean tolerating emotional starvation. You know you don't need to sacrifice your dignity to keep someone around. You know that when someone steals your peace, that's not love, that's control. And from here, you will love differently, no longer from a place of fear or desperation, but from a place of wholeness. You won't look for someone to complete you, because now you know how to stand complete within yourself. You won't need anyone to define you, because you've already started defining yourself, me, not through the lens of manipulation, but through the eyes of healing. Yes, it may take time. Some days you'll slip, some days you'll miss them for no logical reason. That's okay. Healing isn't linear. But every time you sit quietly, breathe deeply, and choose not to hate yourself for loving the wrong person, that's progress. That's how you reclaim your power. You are turning pain into wisdom. You are turning survival into identity. Don't let the person who hurt you become the reason you stop believing in love. Let them become the reason you finally learn to love yourself more deeply than ever before. And when you move through life with a heart that no longer chases validation, you'll realize you don't need anyone to rescue you, your own hero, all along. If you've stayed with me this far, I want you to know something deeply important. You are no longer alone on this journey. Whether you've just left a toxic relationship, are still caught in waves of longing and confusion, or are slowly adjusting to the wide, uncertain space that freedom brings, what matters is that you are moving forward. And that, in itself, is something to be proud of. You have endured some of the most insidious psychological games. You've survived the smears, the silence, the public displays meant to hurt you, and even the subtle harassment disguised as concern. And yet, you're still here, still standing, still learning how to love yourself. Don't let the past define you. Um, Even if you once found yourself trapped in a cycle of manipulation, that doesn't mean you were weak. It means you once had a sincere heart, one that tried its best to love and save someone. But now you are no longer their victim. You are a survivor, a healer, a soul rebuilding itself daily in the light of truth and courage. You may not fully see it yet, but one day you'll look back and realize it was the darkest moments that birthed the strongest version of you. Not because you never broke, but because you faced the pain, moved through it, and chose not to let it decide your future. And when you step fully into your freedom, when your phone buzzes and your heart doesn't race, when their name is mentioned and you no longer flinch, when you no longer feel the need to prove your worth just to be loved, that's when you'll know you've won. Real love doesn't make you doubt yourself. It doesn't shrink you. It doesn't require silence in exchange for closeness. Real love nourishes you, supports you, and gives you space to grow. And the most beautiful thing is, it starts with you. Keep loving yourself. Tend gently to your wounds. Rebuild trust, not just in others, but in your own intuition, your voice, your value. If something in this video resonated with you, I gently invite you to leave a sign, whether it's a like, a comment, or simply subscribing to this channel so I can continue to walk with you through this healing process. What you heard today wasn't just information, it was connection. And I believe we can build a safe space here where you are never judged, where you are truly seen and heard. Remember this: you were never what they lost. They were the ones who lost someone they will never, ever find again. And you are walking back into the light, one steady, quiet step at a time. No rush, no pressure, no perfection, just truth. Thank you for sharing this moment with me and with yourself on this journey.